Can Todd Bowles still save this season and potentially his job, or is it going to be too little too late? That and more on today's episode of Locked On Bucs.
You are Locked On Buccaneers, your daily Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, and welcome into this episode of Locked On Bucs, your daily podcast covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one sports podcast network. I want to thank you so much for joining us here. I am James Yarcho at JYarcho_Bucs. He is Evan Klosky at EKlosky_WTSB. We are your credentialed members of the media covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Of course, Evan is on 10 Tampa Bay at 10tampabay.com and the 10 Tampa Bay Plus app. I am here with you every Monday through Friday along with the everydayers. And for that, I want to share my appreciation for your continued support of the show. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. We are going to start previewing Thursday night football and, of course, break out that crystal ball. But Evan, I went pretty nuclear on my last episode about Todd Bowles and how I'm just not sure if I can defend him anymore. Now, you and I have been kind of on the same wavelength here about Todd Bowles for pretty much his entire tenure. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts about the situation, considering that the fire Bowles talk has reached an all-time high, where there's even staunch defenders of his like mine saying, you know what, maybe it's time to move on. So where do you stand on whether or not Todd Bowles should be or will be fired, or is there still a chance here that he could turn this thing around?
If you're watching on YouTube, I appreciate you being patient with me. For some reason, our TV's not working, and we're rolling on the Lightning game. Okay, so now as I digress, here's the thing with Bowles. As we come to the final month of the season, if this squad does not turn it around, it is hard to imagine that they will be able to keep him into next year. And there are plenty of excuses, I would argue legitimate excuses on the offensive side of the football, right? Fans don't want to hear that. But if Cade Otton doesn't play on Thursday, he's been at DNP at the time of this recording, back-to-back walkthrough days. If he doesn't play, that means Graham Barton and Baker Mayfield are the only players to not miss a start during the season. But Baker has missed half a game due to an injury, and we know how injured he is. Just go look at his stats from the Detroit Lions game on, and you'll hear many people from Cleveland say, we've been down this road before with an injured Baker and what it looks like. But from a defensive perspective, it is clear that there needs to be a freshening up. It just has to be. And if Todd Bowles absolutely needs a disruptive defensive line to run his scheme, then why on earth was that not a priority since 2023? Like, they are playing with scraps with the DL and the off-ball linebackers for years now. For years they've been doing it. And if it's that important to Todd Bowles' scheme, then it should have been addressed and been a major priority. And they tried to do it in the draft, but they have not done it via free agency. Only complementary pieces. They got Hassan Reddick this year, but one piece was not going to fix the whole pie. And we've already talked about, how all four of those guys need to stay healthy for that unit to really shine, which I was confident in as is, and we didn't even get to week 2 before that got blown up. So he is certainly fighting for his job. And the thing is with Todd Bowles, the last couple of years, which has saved him, and what has always been my calling card with him, is that despite the midseason slumps, which are mostly due to the fact that they're playing teams above their weight class and not winning, which is a different discussion on to Todd Bowles, which I understand from fans. The team never quits. The team fights to the end, and they scratch and they claw and they turn it around. They make the playoffs, and they put themselves in a position to do some work. Last year, it was a silly turnover that cost them against Washington, a really hot team that made it to the NFC Championship game. A couple of years ago, I mean, they were tied entering the fourth quarter in Detroit for a team that, man, they really were playing their best ball at the end of the year. So the last 2 years, you got to remember, everybody can say what they want, but there was a good taste in your mouth entering the following year. But this is smelling like 2022. Even if this team, and by the way, 2022, I give Todd Bowles a free pass because he was handed a crap sandwich, all right? He, midway through the offseason, was told he's going to be the head coach, didn't get to hire any assistants of his own, pretty much acquired all of Bruce's staff. It was Tom Brady's show, and it was a mess, like, organizationally. So I gave him a pass there because that was baloney. But there is no pass to give him right now. And that's just me being 100% objective, like Todd. They need to fire the DC more than anything, and he's the DC. So he doesn't have answers for this group. And when we keep seeing them perform the way that they do, and now they have to fall back into let's bleed yards, hope for turnovers and takeaways and all these things, and the havoc stuff, which has been great this year, but it's just not working. And and especially doesn't work when your offense is not benefiting off of the havoc stuff, which partly on Baker, partly on Grizz, partly on the injuries. There's a million things to complain about with the offense, which is the bigger problem than the defense, to be honest. But they, again, have some built-in excuses. So it's just not creative enough for me. It just does not feel, and they're about to play Kirk Cousins and company, a quarterback that knows him like the back of his hand. And I don't think Todd's going to be able to scheme up something that Kirk hasn't seen before. And I know Kirk looks toast, and he probably is toast, but against a coordinator like Todd, he's going to find success. And that's the problem with Todd. I don't. It's becoming abundantly clear that he's a floor raiser, and I don't know if his scheme can ever hang with the best in his game week after week. Maybe once here and there with a special plan, especially entering the year when he can build out his first few scripts. And that's why these teams look great, because he has all this time in the offseason, and he's a super smart guy. He knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's doing, and he builds out these curveballs. But when he gets into the season, into the muck of it, it just, the well runs a little bit dry. That's what it feels like, and that's what it seems like. And haven't seen enough from Vita this year. Haven't seen enough from Antoine this year. Zion's regress. Levante is what he is at this age. Yeah. Servassier isn't the guy that they thought he was going to be. He's all right. I think Servassier would be a great third-string linebacker, like off-ball line. I would love him off the bench to fill in if there were an injury. I think that's a great option to have there. But really, Parrish is hitting a rookie wall. Tyke looks awesome. I think Tyke's probably the best. I would say probably the best player on this defense this season. So.
He hasn't practiced all week.
Yeah, there's a chance he doesn't go. So, there's a lot of frustration out there for Bucs fans, and that's the thing. Look, the Jaguars had a lot of talent on their team, right? And Doug Peterson, it became stale up there. They got rid of him. They brought in Liam Cohen. They brought in an energized staff, a young, hungry, creative staff, and look where the Jags are right now. And you think about the Seattle Seahawks. They brought in an offensive coordinator last year, Ryan Grubb, and wasn't a fit. They tried it all year, was clunky, didn't work, made a change. All of a sudden, the Seahawks are on the right track. And especially with a guy like McDonald, you can see the difference between an elaborate, complicated scheme coming together versus Bowles, who, and this is another problem, you can't ever bring in players to help with a Bowles scheme because it's so darn complicated, you can't pick it up. So it really limits you in the amount that you can actually help, because you have to develop these guys for so long because it's such a complicated scheme. I think they really need to dumb things down. So
that's why you're signing JPP off the street 2 years after he sold the last
year. And I kind of did this yesterday on our streaming show, but like it's an unserious signing. If we're like we're being honest, we love JPP, right?
Oh yeah,
but the guy. Since 2021, 2021, 2022, 2023, his production cratered. He hasn't been in the league for 2 years. His last NFL game was mid-December of 2023. And you're bringing him off the couch? What does that say about your linebacking group? What does that say about your roster construction? You need to bring in, Larry Foote's talking about, hey, we need to bring in a guy that, has juice and there's only so much that the coaches can say, sort of deal. Like, what does that mean for the culture in there, between the players? Like, it's a problem. That's a problem. That's a big problem. So the thing is with this team is there's and this is why fans are so frustrated. Way too many good players on this team to hit these lulls. Like, the defense has tons of talent. And if this was just the offense not performing, I can actually live with that, because there have been 8 different O-line combinations this season in 13 games. The most continuity they've had in an O-line group was 2.5 games. I don't care what team you are. That sucks. And that's gonna be a detriment to you. So I can talk about all the excuses for the offense. There are plenty there, and a handful that are legitimate. But the defense, I'm just sick and tired of it, watching it. I can't. I try to play the devil's advocate card, and I try to play that line. I've run out of things to say. I really have. It's just not good. And this is like the 3rd straight year that everybody at home and us are watching it. And I'm not going to come up with an excuse this time. Like, you had to deal with Kalijah Cansey hurt and Hassan Reddick hurt. Like, boo-hoo. Every team's got to deal with injuries.
Yeah, you've missed guys for a game. Maybe.
Jamel Dean for a game or here. Like, every team goes through that stuff. Every single team has to go through. And, some are healthier than others. But, like, throughout the course of a season, you're going to lose guys for an extended period of time. Really important ones. And you can't tell me that, well, if we just had everybody healthy the entire season, we would have been great. Like, obviously, that's not going to happen. No team is going to make it through the entire season with a fully healthy team. There are going to be players, every year entering the season. Some are going to be out for the year. It's going to be terrible injuries. And the defense, for the most part, has been fairly lucky. Has been fairly fortunate, considering the hell they went through last year. This year was fairly fortunate. So I do think that he's got to prove that he's still the guy, like 1,000%. And even if they make the playoffs and they burn out in the playoff game and look terrible, that's not going to be good enough either. Like, it's just not.
No. Like I said over on my column on Bucs Report, I've run out of doubts to give him the benefit of. That's where we are now. So he's a guy desperate to try to fire up a team, and the Bucs are desperate for a win on Thursday night. So how is that going to happen? That is coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Bucs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, the momentum flips after a turnover. There's live spreads and money lines adjusted instantly, and player props as guys begin to heat up or cool off. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com to place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Thank you again for making Locked On Bucs your first listen review every day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club and get Locked On Bucs with no interruptions, a members-only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonbucs.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more about the Everydayer Club and an all-access membership. All right, Evan, desperate times. They call for desperate measures, and I guess it's fitting that the Bucs are going to be in creamsicle orange considering how they have played over the course of the last 2 months. Very reminiscent of those 70s and 80s teams. But, here come the Falcons to try to double down on what the Saints did in playing spoiler. Kirk Cousins destroyed this defense twice. Last year was the only time he looked like a competent quarterback all season long. The Bucs are in disarray on both sides of the ball. How does Tampa get a win in this one?
The way that they get a win is making sure that Bijan Robinson doesn't eviscerate them. Drake London hasn't practiced, again, at walkthrough stuff, but he's been DNP the last couple of days.
Not helpful for my fantasy team.
If Drake London cannot go, their number one option is Darnell Mooney. So, you should be able to play an aggressive brand of defense with Darnell Mooney as the one. And obviously, Kyle Pitts is probably set to have a big game because he always does against the Buccaneers. But, as long as you don't get the top popped off by Mooney, you should be able to figure that out defensively. Your offense needs help. They need the defense to make things happen and to get fortuitous field position. And I've talked with a lot of people who I really respect covering football, and I understand being aggressive on fourth down. And in certain games, in most games, to be honest, I appreciate what the Bucs did, what Todd Bowles decided to do last week against the Saints. I thought that was after the first play didn't work, I would have kept punting in the rain. I thought last week was really bad game management, which is funny because I don't think that was a Todd Bowles thing. I think that came from the analytical consortium, and I am very pro analytical consortium. But in games against inferior opponents, you have to make them work the entire length of the field when they can. And when your offense isn't doing its job, you gotta lean towards the unit that is. And for the first half of that game, the defense was the better unit. The offense has been absolutely horrific in red zone situations, third downs, fourth downs. Gotta have it. They just have not been good for whatever reason. Sometimes it's the play call. Sometimes it's a missed block by an O-lineman. Sometimes it's a drop by the wide receiver. There are a million reasons why it happens. It's not just one guy. But read the room. So, you're facing an inferior opponent who, by the way, has a great defense. And the only reason that game cascaded on them against Seattle, they wouldn't have won it anyway. But that was a tie game at halftime. And it went kickoff return, turnover, bing, bang, boom, game was done with for the Falcons. They completely screwed it up after half. But if Atlanta plays a clean brand of football, that's going to be a problem for the Bucs offense because their defense is actually very good. You got to win this game defensively. You got to make sure that Kirk Cousins looks like Melba Toast, the guy that we have seen for most of the past 2 years, except against the Buccaneers. This fan base is going to riot if they have to watch Kirk Cousins pop off again against them. This has to be won defensively. That's my key there.
What every listener and every viewer of this show just heard is the Bucs are going to lose. If they have to win this game defensively, they're going to lose. Why would anybody have any faith that the defense, from what we've seen, can stop Kirk Cousins? They couldn't beat the Saints. Chris Olave was a non-factor, and I realize Drake London is out, but you're leaving the middle of the field wide open. It doesn't matter if it's Darnell Mooney or Kyle Pitts or Joe Schmo that they sign off the practice squad for this game. When you're leaving guys wide open the whole time, they're going to beat you. You let the Saints go 100% on third down until their next to last possession. So saying that it's on the defense because we know the offense is struggling. Hopefully Mike returning is going to help that. We don't know if McMillan is back, but Bowles said that he's in play as well. So hopefully that gets the offense going, but that's not going to magically heal Baker Mayfield either. So if it's on the defense, to quote the Star Wars franchise, I got a bad feeling about this.
Look, it's crazy. The Buccaneers are 0-5 against the spread. Like at some point, it's like the public for some reason continues to bet the Buccaneers, and I do not know why. And coming off of a game where the Falcons got blasted and the Falcons have all this bad publicity, I'm wondering if it's going to happen again, where Vegas is going to benefit off people betting against the Falcons versus recognizing, oh wait, the Buccaneers are getting 4.5 points. Like I'm waiting at some point for this team to wake up, and on short rest, I'm with you. Like at this point, we've hit the. I have personally hit the button where I am not betting the Bucs until they prove me wrong. Like I'm not picking them to win until they prove me wrong, and especially against the Falcons, especially in a primetime game on short rest. Todd Bowles does not do well on short rest, especially the Thursday night turnaround. He hasn't won a Thursday night football game as the head coach of the squad. Or I take that back. With Baker Mayfield, I should say. They won in 2022, I believe, in Philly. Oh, wait, no, that was 2021. 2022, he's 0 for 3. Yeah, they lost to Buffalo. Well, he lost to Buffalo with Baker. They lost to the Ravens.
That was the
Ravens was the Shaq Barrett got hurt game.
Yes.
Okay, so it was Ravens, Bills, and then last year the Falcons. Calamity against the Falcons, which they gave up 30 plus points. So 36 points, I think. So and then we could talk about like the Monday to Sunday situations. Those haven't been fortuitous for Bowles as well. So I'm not going to try to make I'm not going to try to ignore the red flags, right? I'm with you, fans. Like prove me wrong. Prove everyone wrong. Prove that you're not this team that we just watched on Sunday lay the fattest egg.
Yeah, it's bad news bears all the way around. And again, to the point earlier in the show, you got to win this thing defensively, and you don't have the best defensive player on the roster on the field in Tyke Smith. I realize Izzian might be able to come in and play, but it goes from bad to worse. So, all right, we are going to be breaking out that crystal ball. That is coming up next on today's episode of Locked On Bucs. So there's no reason to let big wireless drain your wallet, especially during the holidays. Right now, Mint Mobile is running their best deal of the year. All of their unlimited plans are 50% off. That means you can lock in 3, 6, or even 12 months of unlimited premium wireless for just $15 a month. It's the easiest way to take your overpriced phone bill and give it the full Scrooge treatment. And what makes this even better is how simple Mint makes the switch. No contracts, no nonsense, just real savings and real quality service. Switching to Mint lets you keep your same coverage for a lower price, and setup only takes a few minutes. You can bring your own phone and number without any issues. Turn your expensive wireless present into a huge wireless savings future by switching to Mint. Shop Mint Unlimited plans at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. That's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. Limited time offer. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 a month equivalent. Taxes and fees. Initial plan term only. Over 35 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com for details. Wrapping things up here on this super positive, optimistic episode of Locked On Bucs. Evan, last week, things didn't go well for either of us. Your bold prediction was a defensive touchdown. Your player of the game was Tyke Smith.
He got injured, but
your score was 22-16 Bucs.
But I did get New Orleans covering, so
you did get that. My bold was Baker was going to throw for over 80% completion percentage and have 0 turnovers.
You look great.
Turnover wasn't his fault, and he started off making me look like a genius.
I will say the turnover was kind of his fault, though. He never should have threw that ball. Now, it's Cameron Johnson, just an absolute horrific route. But if you look at that, there was no point when he went to that read, he never should have threw that ball. He should have literally ran it forward for 4 yards, went down, moved the chains. There was nothing there. He just went 1, 2, and no matter what, he was throwing on 3. Like, he didn't even process it. It was like, bing, bing, throw. And it was not there.
I'm still blaming Cameron Johnson for quitting on the route. If nothing else, it should have been an incompletion instead of an interception.
Maybe, yeah.
Cameron Johnson.
We could do that.
My player of the game was Bucky. I said he was going to get over 102 scores, and then my score prediction was 27-6.
Nice. Yeah.
27-6.
Yeah, good prediction there.
Yeah. So we both went over. Let's let me live in denial that the Bucs are going to show up in this one. So I need some positivity here from the crystal ball. What's your bold prediction?
Bold prediction. Kirk Cousins is thrown for 275.
Awesome. That denial did not last long at all.
I mean, like, why even try and act like something else different is going to happen?
Why fight it anymore?
Why fight it? Nah, prove me wrong. We're in the prove me wrong. I've had enough of this. All right, I'm going reverse Sally here. If you, at this point, I'm either going to be right or you're going to prove me wrong. And this is what we call a reverse jinx, okay? This is a lesson for betting out there, okay? If you want the results to change, what you have to do is you have to challenge the sports and betting gods. And you have to say, pick a lane, right? Like, my team is causing me such irreparable harm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bet against them. And now the sports gods have to decide, do I pay this man money or do I let his team win? And that's how you play the song and dance, because no matter what, there's a gain to be had here, emotional or fiscally. So that's how you do it. Now, for me, it's not emotional or fiscally. It's hey, can I come at you and be right and parade myself as someone being right, or you gonna prove me wrong? Come on, prove me wrong. Kirk Cousins, 275.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and let's see. Money line Falcons, Cousins over, Bijan and Pitts. And
you don't want to parlay it. By the way, you do not parlay betting against the sports gods, because they will find a way for all the results.
You'll miss one leg.
One leg misses. It's got to be an individual bet. All right. This is a pro tip.
It happens to me so much. All right, Evan.
Especially in fantasy football, by the way, works great.
Yeah. Who is your predicted player of the game?
Predictive player of the game. I'm going to go with Chris Godwin Jr. I think he's looking a little bit fresher. Let's say that Mike Evans plays. I think that maybe Chris can spring a little bit. I really want to pick a Mecca, to be honest. I just feel like
this
is a good matchup for him. And if Mike comes back, it's really going to alleviate some pressure off of him. But I'll go with Chris, just given his history against the Falcons. Typically, he has a good one. I think that maybe he can lead the team in yards, 80 to 90, maybe 5-6 catches. I don't know, something like that.
To be fair, Ibuka averages 2 touchdowns per game.
Yeah.
In his career. Yeah. All right. You're going Falcons. I know you're going Falcons. What's the score going to be?
27-20 Falcons. Prove me wrong.
Yeah. What else are you going to do there? All right. Evan, what's going on over at 10 Tampa Bay, 10tampabay.com, and the 10 Tampa Bay Plus app?
Reminder, there's no Blitz episode this week. Because of Thursday Night Football, we ain't doing one for obvious reasons. So we will have the Blitz back next week for the game against the Panthers. That's a biggie. No matter what happens in this game, even if they lose, the Bucs still will control their own destiny. So that's the truth. But we have the Ultimate Sports Show, which you can also find on 10 Tampa Bay Plus. You can also find our 6 and 11 newscasts on 10 Tampa Bay Plus. So plenty to talk about. The Lightning can't buy a win either. Hopefully they're going to get one tonight. And the Rays just got the second pick in the MLB draft thanks to the lottery. So there's some there's some good things to talk about here. And the Bolts have scored 3 goals, which is already a good thing to talk about, even if it turns sour. But yeah, and also Addy Klasky, WTSP, James mentioned it. If you want to chit chat with me, feel free. Love talking with you. Just be respectful.
We just need to old Yeller this entire season so we can start talking about coaching candidates. All right, that is going to do it for this episode.
I'm already there. I got it in the back of my head. I'll let you know when it's in the front.
Marcus Freeman. Did Locked On Bucs make your Spotify Wrapped? Prove it on social media to secure a free month of our brand new Everydayer Club. Just tag our national Locked On Podcast Network account on any social platform and we'll drop you a code. Be one of the first to join the Everydayer Club to get your favorite show ad-free and exclusive access to the members-only Discord channel. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube with the notifications turned on, as well as wherever you get your podcasts. Follow on Twitter at Locked On Bucs, at JYarcho_Bucs, at eKlosky WTSP. You can still become a Locked On Bucs insider. If the Everydayer Club is not for you, you can still join over there. Join subtext.com/LockedOnBucs or click the link in the show notes. You want to support the show, but you don't want to be an insider. It's real simple. Leave a 5-star review wherever you get podcasts and like this episode on YouTube. Hope you all have an absolutely outstanding day. Stay safe, stay healthy, fire the cannons. Want to thank you so much for joining us right here on Locked On Bucs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.